Okay, so like you said, I use Illustrator almost exclusively for all of my designs, and I didn't know what kind of user group was going to be coming to learn about Illustrator or to get some tips and tricks for Illustrator. So I didn't pre-plan anything. So what I'd like to know is how many people are new, brand new, hardly touched it, hated that you had to buy it. And how many of you are old hats? You've had it, you kind of want to know something new? Okay, good. Okay, so for newer people, what kind of things do you want to know? Do you want to know how to build out like a layered piece? Do you want to know how to build boxes for various projects? How to resize tabs?
I would like to know how to bring in, like for example, bring in an image and say you want to put a name and personalize it, but you want it to be open. How would you pull out a part? Like say you have a pumpkin with like a curl top.
Sure.
It's in the top, and the curl is coming like right in the middle of the design. How do you delete that?
Oh, sure. Okay, that's actually kind of easy. I haven't used my Mac laptop for a minute, so let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. I don't know where the Zoom is. Oh, no. So I'm sorry, you had your hand up, too.
It's layers, so I think kind of maybe the same
Layers?
thing. Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll make a circle, and this will kind of do both at the same time. So one of the things that I like to do is when I'm making any circle, if I'm starting up for a spherical object at all, like a pumpkin, is I just make a perfect circle. You can do that using the Command Shift or Command, is it Alt Shift on PC? No, I'm second guessing myself. There will be a lot of that this half hour. Okay, so let's say this is your pumpkin, and you want to be able to make it look more like a pumpkin. So what I've done is I've taken the A tool, which is the white triangle, which also is the direct select tool, if you want to actually find it on there. I think it's showing my tool tabs, isn't it? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so right now we kind of want to make it look like a pumpkin, so we're going to pull this down some. And if you want to make it perfect, then you can actually hold Shift and it'll carry it right along that line to the center. And then what we're going to do is you can either do Shift C, or when you first have the point selected, the white arrow will let you do this when you go to the handle. These are handles here that handle the curve that we're looking at. So what we want to do is we actually want to take this and we're going to warp it some so that now when you look at it, oops, there, we'll go that way. See? There we go. You have to select each one separately. Yeah, and it's always one of those things that it might take a couple tries. Oh, yeah, that's what, thank you. Much better. Okay, so this is pumpkinish, we'll say. Now, what I like to do is I just like to work with the pen tool. If you ever want to get really comfortable with the pen tool and in drawing things, the best thing you can do is take a photo and start tracing the outline of something in the photo. You can do it with leaves on a plant, you can do it with flowers, you can do it with people, but as you go, you'll start to learn how things work. So you can take a point, and obviously you can make straight lines, and you can make like a triangle with the pen tool if you wanted to. But then you can also come along here and you use those curves. So this is a point and drag. So you just use that curve to kind of follow along, and maybe if you're doing like a skull for, I'm terrible at doing this freehand without a guide, but skulls always get me. A skull for Dia de Muertos, then you're going to come up and it's going to look like it was something out of the comic books here, but we'll go back to the center. There. So you can do something that's technically a really hard to think of object, but you can do it really simply just by going through and learning and moving and doing it as if you would do with a pencil, but you have to learn how to do the handles. So it's like a pencil with an extra drag to it, if that makes any sense. So you had said, oh, we have a stem that's coming off this pumpkin. So let me make a stem. This is one of the nice things about Illustrator too that I actually hate, is that it likes to fill your stuff for you before you actually get to anything. So I always do a clear so I can actually see what my shapes are. So you see right there, this one as well has a fill. You just come over here to none and it'll clear them for you. So now you have these two pieces and you say, I want to have just the outline of the pumpkin. So you're going to select both. And in Illustrator, you actually go to the Pathfinder tool. Now you'll see that up over here in the toolbar where it's a couple of squares. And when you pop it out, you'll see all the options that you have. And this probably looks like a lot of options and you just don't really know where to go. Well, the easiest one for this is you want to make it all one shape. So they make that really easy. You look here and it's Unite. And there's your pumpkin. Now, if you say, you know what, this pumpkin's for my niece, and what's your niece's name? Do you have a niece? Grace. Grace, okay. So this is for Grace. If I have a font on here, let's see. Like I said, I haven't loaded this for a while. There, let's find something nice and scripty for Grace. And again, I'm holding down Shift as I scale so it makes it nice and clear. Otherwise, if you do some stuff, you'll see that you can even go upside down with it, which, you know, sometimes it's nice. You get a little taller here, that looks a little bit nicer. And so Grace, actually, this isn't a great font, is it? Let's tighten that up some. So when you're working with text, one of my key peeves is kerning. If you look at the space right here, you can see where the cursor's flashing. This is too big of a gap to really work with what we're doing because we want something that's actually going to be all in one piece that we're going to cut out. So on any of these, if you go Option and your arrow keys, you can kind of just tuck it in just a little bit until you're happy with it. And that will save you so much time because a lot of people like to try and do that afterward, after you've put all of these as separate letters, and then you're kind of like, you know, kind of moving them all to, you know, different spacing. So I like to do it with the actual text tool. So now let's say Grace is going to get big. Sorry, Grace, everybody gets big. And we're going to give her a little bit of a shift. Now, what some people like to do is we're going to do an offset path. That's something people ask a lot for. So I'm kind of rambling with your whole let's cut out the thing, but I hope you don't mind. So with type, this is a nice thing, is type's got its own menu right here. We're going to go to create outlines, which does exactly what you think. It creates the outlines of each letter. But you can see, if you really look in here, that each one is still its own letter. So this is where we go back and we unite again here on the letters to make it all one piece. So let's see. I'm not very good on my phone with the whole thing. I think my fingers are too cold all the time. Okay, so we're going to do an offset path on this, which is object, path, oops, I know, it hates being clicked. Object, path, offset path. And then you can choose how big this is. So if you say, keep in your head, you know, I want it to have kind of a smaller path, then let's go with 1/8 of an inch, which right here is at 0.1389, which is, I think, the standard that they actually set it to. I like to do 0.12 for anything that's 1/8 inch, so we're going to cut it down some. Now, for those of you who don't know, miter, when you're looking at this, is a sharp line. So if you're doing something like Grace's name here that's all round, what you actually want to change it is to round. And then that will mean that everything that you have in there, regardless of how it works, will now go to a rounded shape versus you might have it, I know I've seen people where they have like a round, and it spikes out like this, and then it comes back around and around. So you want to make sure you do that. It gives you a little preview. So you can move this to the side if you want to see if that's definitely the outline you want. And you hit OK. Now this, you can see, is still two pieces. And what I like to do, actually, it looks like we got pretty much all but these little things in the centers here. So I double click and go into a shape. I don't really bother with having to select the other arrow, go into it. It's one of those quick little things that people don't really tell you, but you can do it, double click, select the piece, and then you can actually, cancel. You can delete it. Now the reason we're deleting these is because we don't want to have these as part of the backer for the name. And it's also, in this case, since we're going to cut it out of the pumpkin, it's not going to matter too much. But now that we have it, I believe, let me pull it off some, there. So you can see that it's just perfectly around there. If we want to cut it out of the pumpkin, then you select both again, since they're both filled shapes. And we can actually take the fill off of this shape if we wanted to, so you can see how it's working. And you collect that shape together, and what we're going to do now is minus front. So what minus front does is it says basically the thing that's on the top layer, or the thing that's in front of the other thing that you've actually selected, because Illustrator looks at it in layers. So when you start at the background and then you keep adding, it's actually a stack for them. So it's all layers that go up and down. And you can move them around in the place that they're in, or you can just pull them to front or push them to back. I like to do front or back, like I'm kind of no shadows. So right now we're going to minus front, which means we're taking that front chunk of grace out. And you can see now we've got that pumpkin without grace in it. So if you wanted to say, you know what, that's great, except that now I want to have a piece that goes around this whole thing. So what I'm doing is cutting out the pumpkin and engraving grace onto this piece of wood. I know that seems like it's pretty complicated. What we're going to do is select both now. We go to Object, Path. Oh, God. See, I just keep trying to click it. And we're going to do Offset Path again. And we'll stay with the same amount and hit OK. Now, this is going to be where you look at it and say, is this everything that I need? And because what you're doing is actually getting around the rest. Actually, did it do it? No, it didn't. Yeah, it did. Did it? Yeah, because it's right there. So it made it two shapes. So that's what we're working with here. So we can go in and edit this one again if we wanted to. It'll give you guys practice, if anything, of taking these shapes out. And then what we're going to do with this then is you see this outside shape, which we have to go back out for. There's that shape and that outside shape, which we actually want to unite. And then we turn it to a stroke. I accidentally forgot to get the pumpkin from inside. So if you do miss that, then what you do is you go back one, and you can actually select, I like to go back several steps. Here we go. So select this guy and copy, and then go to Edit and redo everything. So Control, Shift, Z. Oh, my mouse is dragging. And we're going to go all the way back through what we did. And then now I'm going to paste in place, which is different than just the Control V, or in Command V, you're actually going to do Command F. And what that just says is that you're pasting it in front of where it was. You can do B as well, which we'll do in back. So we want it in front. There it is. And we actually want to take it, and we're going to minus front out of that. So it doesn't really look like it did much, but now everything that you have right here is actually this outline around Grace and around the pumpkin, if that makes sense. I think I can fill it. It would help if I actually filled it, wouldn't it? I hit empty. There. So you can see that's the wood that we're looking at when we're all said and done. And then it'll have that engraving right here. And personally, what I like to do is all my red cut lines, all my cut lines are red. So I just pick these standards up here. And then all my engrave is actually hot pink, because why not? So that would be what you send to the laser and what it would make for you. So you can turn this into an ornament then and say, you know what, I really don't want to just tie a hole up here. I'm sorry. Thanks for putting up with me, y'all. I don't want to just tie a string, although this really would work with just a string through that stem right there. You could say, you know what, I'm going to make this a Christmas gourd. So one of the things you can do is instead go over to shape, and instead of the ellipse tool, which we used for the circle, we're going to go to the star tool. Now, the standard star that we get is a 5-pointed star. So if you're looking for a 5-pointed star, don't worry, that's easy. You're not going to have to mess with anything. You can go in, you can tell it how many star points you want. You can tell it how big the outside is. Okay, and how narrow the inside is. So you have a lot of options with that, but your basic star is right there. Let's take the star over here. And we have to do two things. We're actually going to set this to an outline so we can see what we're doing. We're going to offset path. See, I keep doing that. Path, offset, there. And if now this is a great opportunity to show you. You can see it's rounded all the way around the star. If you don't want it to round, that's when you would check miter, and all your star points come back. So right now we say, okay, that looks great. These are two shapes. I'm going to punch. I'm going to bring this guy to front. So object, arrange. Me and my clicking. Bring to front. And we're bringing it to front because then we're going to select with this one and we're going to punch it out. So now that's a star shape. If we fill. Very nice. And then now you can actually use this a little bit smaller, or we'll move it down a little bit here. So as long as it's connected, then you can connect this with that, and your grace is still going to go right in front.
Are there any good like Illustrator tutorials, or specifically for like what we're all doing? As like,
No, not really specifically. I'll stop and I'll take questions now since he said I've got 5 minutes, which is probably less now. Not specifically. That's why I try to do videos. I've got probably 5 videos so far, but I'll do them as requested. So if you guys have anything specific, then I'll make you a video for it. I'm not great with like trying to come up with what people might want to know because I've been doing it for so long. I've been using Illustrator for 27 years. So it's like, what is it that someone who's brand new wants to know? And I can kind of think of things maybe, but you guys all have something different to ask.
Did you have a YouTube, or do you do it on your?
I have a YouTube. It's actually GK Design House on there too. I should have put it on my cards. I forgot.
H-A-U-S.
So.
Or is it H-A-U-S or H-A-U-S?
H-A-U-S. Yeah, so it's GK Design House, all one is the channel. And if you hit me up on Facebook, then I'll post it. I think I have it posted in Glowforge User Group, in Laser Designers Group, and in Glowforge After Dark. Those are my 3 main groups. But I also have a lot of smaller groups that are specific for different focus. So I think I try to put everything into each group so people can find it. But I do specifically have the tabs and resizing for materials in there, and a few others like monograms and making your own monogram out of something. Any other questions? Nobody? Did I wow you so much you can't think? Are you just tired from the pizza? You're in a coma? Sorry?
So we don't have enough time.
I know. A half hour isn't much, is it? Because I could keep going on this and just, I'm just starting to kind of get into a groove here. But he's a man in charge, so. I guess if you want anything specific, you want a shape or anything, I don't work for I work for tips, I should say. I don't work for charge. I don't charge people to make stuff for them. So if you have something that you're saying, you know what, I am just having a terrible time with this, just hit me up. If I have time within my week, then I'll try and get to it. I don't always get to everything, but I will get to it at some point, I promise. But if you need it for like a birthday party or something, tell me first. And if I can't do it, then I know lots of people who can. Everybody good?